Welcome back to another Zero Context Patreon stock advertising my Patreon content one out of context theater moment at a time. I finished up the Janitor series with the final book, Heroes of the Dustbin. Then I jumped into the second book of the Cormoran Strike series, The Silkworm. Eventually, Bernie realizes that Bookworm is lying when he agrees that this was all of the scissors. He coughs up a do not enter sign, and the boys know what he's talking about. There's an area with a really mean thingamajunk. Bookworm is too scared to go near the hoarder and thus didn't get the scissors. However, he's willing to show them the way. Daisy was biting her nails and muttering nervously. Satch looked down, even his determined nature dwindling as the fight wore on. Instead of standing around and watching the thingamajunks fight, somebody should probably sink into the washing machine to find the scissors. That was 10 years ago, Alan said. It was an accident. It could have been yesterday. The driver of that vehicle walked away. Clean's voice was trembling with emotion. But my wife and my kids, he trailed off. When he spoke again, the tremor was gone, replaced by a frightening calm. There is nothing good left in this world. Only the witches can cleanse it. They can build up a new world where those who do wrong should be punished without question. Make it make sense. His wife and kids were unalived in a car accident. He decides to take his anger and frustration out on innocent school children? Buddy, therapy. Ever freaking heard of it? They come out and Spencer snips, but not at the school nor the witches. Instead, he sips the ground, which frees the school. Bernie comes over in Big Bertha, and Penny uses the squeegee to create a portal. Des uses a plunger to lift the newly freed school up off the ground and drops it into the portal where it lands in the dump. Everyone thought that it was bad when the vortex destroyed the classroom. Now imagine realizing that the entire freaking school is simply gone. The kids charge into the school, but the problem is that not only are they literal children, but they also haven't been trained, so a lot of them flee since the fighting is still going on. However, it doesn't take long for the witches to get on the intercom and demand that the BEM not harm anybody who has white hair. They can't tell who's who in the fray, so it's better to simply harm nobody. The female RNs rally around Spencer where they fight their way to the drinking fountain. There, Spencer throws in the ingredients to close it, but then the witches show up. They laugh and tell him that he threw yak hair in. They figured somebody would have shown up to take one of their hair, so they planted a brush full of yak hair in the bathroom. Spencer knows that Walter isn't real. In the dustbin, you can create anything. However, despite knowing that Walter isn't real, Spencer leans on him for the support that he needs to get inside the safe house to a dust-free zone. In there, the fake Walter tells Spencer, winning doesn't mean that we all go home safe. No victory comes without sacrifice. The brains then start to turn kind of funny, like they turn colors and they start to shed the various things, feathers, quills. They know that they have to go, so Daisy turns the leaf blower on, they collect the now blind Des, and go up. True to Daisy's prediction, the witches won't destroy the blower since it's their own way out as well, so they follow the kids up. It's called New Forest Academy, said Poach, a twinkle of excitement in his watery eyes. It's going to be lavish. I'll have my own luxurious apartment on a beautiful mountain campus. No more 5-minute commute to work. No more misbehaving students. And I hear that I'll actually call me director, he grinned. Director Poach. It has quite a ring to it. I feel like the author was debating on if he had one more book left in him to tie up some loose ends, but then decided against it. The cafe had no bathroom, but an arrangement with the bookies a few doors along. Ladbrokes would not be open for another 3 hours, so Strike made a detour down a side alley and in a dark doorway relieved himself of a bladder bulging with weak coffee drunk in the course of a night's work. We got this before we know a singular thing about this case. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this. Strike circles back to something she mentioned about why she needs her husband back so urgently that has nothing to do with Orlando. Lorena explains that strange things have been happening. The first is that somebody keeps shoving literal dog duty through the letterbox on the door. How lovely. The second is that a strange woman Lenora had never seen before showed up at the house. When told that Owen wasn't in, the woman said, "Tell him Angela is dead." Lenora doesn't know anybody named Angela. The third is that a different strange woman has been following Lenora for a few days now. He then asked Strike if he knows about Owen's latest book, the one that's still in manuscript form and not yet published. It's called Bombex Mori, and although Fisher can't say much because he's under some sort of legal agreement not to talk about it, there's a heavy implication from Fisher that there's damning evidence in the book about some other people. He goes on to say that Owen blurred the lines between fiction and reality, so it's a bit of a gray area, but people aren't really happy. And Bombex Mori, she finished up, is the Latin name for a silkworm. And there we have it, folks. Although the real question remains is silkworm going to be actually relevant, or will it be something completely random like I call Lula Cuckoo? How long have you two been together, he asked. 9 years, said Matthew with a slight return of his former combative air. That long, said Strike, surprised. What, were you at university together? School, said Robin, smiling. 6th form. Wasn't a big school, said Matthew. She was the only girl with any brains who was fanciable. No choice. I'm sorry, I was unaware that the school was forcing the students to hook up, and I'm sorry that you signed the contract that dictated that you be together forever no matter how miserable that you are. Sarcasm. Have you read the book? She hesitated, a naughty grin playing around her mouth. Not officially, she said at last, but unofficially? I might have had a sneak peek, she said. Isn't it under lock and key? Well, yeah, it's in Jerry's safe. A sly sideways glance invited Strike to join her in gentle mockery of the innocent editor. The trouble is, he's told everyone the combination because he keeps forgetting it, and that means he can ask us to remind him. Jerry's the sweetest, straightest man in the world, and I don't think it would have occurred to him that we'd have a read if we weren't supposed to. When did you look at it? The Monday after he got it. Rumors were already picking up by then because Christian Fisher had rung about 50 people over the weekend and read bits of the book over the phone. I've heard he scanned it and started emailing parts around as well. Considering they don't want the book getting out, they sure are making sure that the book is getting out anyway. I know what's coming because it's in the official book summary on Goodreads, but at the same time, Owen probably wouldn't even have to publish anything. Eventually, the entire fucking world is going to read his stupid book. Everyone in the group, apart from Shrike, began to talk at once, but Waldegrave's voice carried over the others, and the women fell silent with the indistinctive courtesy women often show to incapacitated males. The misogyny is coming from inside the house with this one. Barf. I didn't think you fancied little women. I don't, Shrike returned quickly. She nicked something for me yesterday. Yeah, well, I'll show your gratitude by letting her go on top, said Nick. You'd squash her like a beetle. I had to read this, and so do you. I still don't see why she called you rather than us. She said you called your lot once before when he went walkabout and he was angry about it. Apparently he'd been with a girlfriend. I'll check that, said Antis, making a note. What made you go to that house? I don't know why anybody bothered to read the first 16 chapters since anything of importance is summed up for us now. Ugh. After hanging up with her, Shy thinks about how odd Lenore's behavior has been. Not only was she not grieving over her husband, but she also was kind of odd about some of the other stuff too. Now, I myself am not sure that Lenore did it, or if she did, she didn't act alone. But as I think about it, I'm pretty sure that she wouldn't have killed Owen if only for the sake of their disabled daughter. Orlando had been coming in and out, generally being a pest. Now she comes in and demands paper to draw on, but Lenora says that the police locked it up in Owen's office. The two of them go upstairs where Shrike overhears Orlando trying to get the door open and Lenora screaming at her. Then there's this bizarre bit where Orlando took the sympathy card from Jerry, but Lenora gets angry about it for no real reason since she hadn't actually wanted Jerry's sympathy anyway. He only knew of the magazine's existence because its society pages were full of Charlotte's friends. She bought it, sometimes to read ostentatiously in front of him, commenting on men she had once slept with or whose stately home she had partied in. Honestly, Strike, I don't even like you all that much, and even I'm going to tell you that you can and should do so much better than that piece of trash. Commenting on men she had once slept with in front of her goddamn boyfriend? Come on, woman. It was decent of him to share the forensic stuff with you, Robin said. He did that to try and warn me off the case. He thinks everything points to Lenora, and trouble is, at the moment, everything does. I'm going to be honest with you. If it turns out that Lenora did this, I'm going to chuck my digital copies of the rest of the series and stop fucking reading this. I'm not here for every goddamn ending to be that the person who hired Strike having done it. Then Strike gets a call from his lawyer friend he recommended to Lenora. The police found sexy photos in the bedroom, the subject of which is Owen being tied up. Strike grumbles that Antis is the type of hyper-vanilla jerk who sees anything beyond missionary as a confession of guilt, which he knows because he served with the idiot. Lenora isn't under arrest right now because sexy photos are hardly damning evidence. But again, Antis has already made up his mind about what happened and has been refusing to listen to anything else. They get settled and this takes forever, like more than 2 fucking pages. Strike asks how Daniel broke his leg, which he wordlessly points to a spiral staircase. Said he heard the bone snap and hadn't thought it possible to hear such things. They then proceed to make awkward chit-chat for the next 2 pages. Get to the freaking point! Chapter 31 Summary. Shrike sits around in his flat and thinks about the case, but also his life. For 5 pages. I'm not fucking reading any of this fucking shit. We already know how the goddamn case is going. We don't need him navel-gazing about it. Thanks. Robin sits with Matt and her mom as they watch the Michael interview on TV. It's going on in the background, but let me tell you that it bogs down this already stupidly long book even further. I'm not fucking reading all of that. Were it not for the dictates of good taste, Robert Chard would have an instant bestseller in its hands. It's not so much good taste as it is Daniel and others being tushy trouble that they appeared in Owen's novel. Pippa Midgley, she spat. Finally, have you got ID? With another mutinous obscenity, she slid a hand into her pocket and drew out a bus pass, which she threw to him. This says Philip Midgley. No shit. Watching the implication hit strike, Robin felt a sudden urge, in spite of the tension in the room, to laugh. Epicone, said Pippa Midgley furiously. Don't you get it? Too subtle for you, dickhead? Strike looked up at her. The Adam's apple on her scratch mark throat was still prominent. She had buried her hands in her pocket again. I'll be Pippa on all my documents next year, she said. Please let the record say that this book was published in 2014. The pieces are finally starting to reveal an actual picture rather than a jumble of random bits. Strike is back on the Owen did this to himself business but doesn't know how to prove it. Again, I'm also on this idea, but Owen's guts didn't remove themselves from his body and walk away on their own. The sense of his impotence ballooned in the silence. He kept checking his mobile. He wanted to do something, but he was completely stymied by a lack of official status, having no authority to make searches of private property or to enforce cooperation of witnesses. There was nothing he could do until his interview with Michael Fancourt on Monday. He says he has nothing to do, like half this book hasn't been him dealing with other cases. I never denied that Owen could write, it was just that he was never able to dredge up anything profound or interesting to write about. I kind of feel like this is missing the point, which is rich considering who wrote this novel, but I'm not going there. Like, it doesn't matter if you can string together a really brilliant sentence if your book is shit and full of cringe-inducing metaphors. If you like my content, you can become a member on Patreon. Now you can join for free and get access to all of my free stuff. For only $1 a month, you can have access to so much, including the context for all of this month's commentary and more. I'll see you next month, guys.